Many centuries ago, Sir Richard Allen, Jeremiah's great-grandfather, became the first vampire. It was that altar in the woods where he made the pact with the stranger to save his people. On that altar, he became the first vampire when he broke his word and was forced to kill his son and drink his blood. On that very same altar, Jeremiah made peace with the vampire hunters in January of 1715. Jeremiah followed his daughter's blood trail through me, and it led the two of us to that altar. What the hell was she thinking? She was walking right into where the hunters lived. We traveled to that old European town of the Richards. Jeremiah took me to a diner to get something to eat. It was oddly decorated, having the vibes of a medieval tavern, yet so warm and cozy compared to the freezing weather outside. Jeremiah looked at me.
Go ahead. Ask. I can see curiosity written all over your face.
I won't lie. I have questions. First off, how were you tracking her all this time?
I was the first tracker of my kind. I know things no one else does. I know how to track other vampires even without being actually around them. I'm sorry if that doesn't answer your question, but that's the best way to say it. There are so many different ways to track someone, and I just can't name all of them now.
I scratched my head in confusion. Then I asked my second question. So, I know from the diary that the stranger told Sir Richard Allen that his family will always be the ruling family. Why aren't you ruling anymore? If you made peace with the hunters, why didn't you come back here and rule in peace?
You sure are a smart one. You focus on many details. You see, we made peace with the hunters, but that didn't mean it was safe to stay next to them. It took my people some time to adjust to the new ways. We needed to be out of their reach for that time.
I nodded, then on with the next question. How does it feel, being a vampire? Alice wrote in her diary that your nature was monstrous, and you can't control it. How do you control it?
It feels cold. We need blood to survive. But the more blood you taste, the more blood you want. Like an addiction, if you may. This is why I tend to make my people drink more animal blood instead of human. It's less appealing, but it's less problematic that way. I try to teach them at an early stage to take blood with irregular doses. We can still eat normal food anyway, and we don't need our full strength for anything. We are peaceful creatures.
I smiled and took a bite of my sandwich. I was beginning to feel warm around this man, like a father type of warmth. I never knew my father. He died before I was born. Jeremiah felt familiar. Maybe that was Judy's effect on me. I still had more questions, however. So, how did you make peace with the hunters? Jeremiah stopped suddenly, and his eyes glared with a mixture of anger and sadness. Did I hit a nerve? What was that he told me before? What I do for reasons you would never understand? I was becoming more curious. Listen, I'm sorry if my question bothered you, but I need to know if you can help me fight more hunters if we encounter any. I was trying to calm him down. He turned to me slowly and spoke with great sadness.
Oh, I've long awaited this moment. I wanted to take this burden off my chest. I couldn't say it to any of the others, not even to my own children. But I can tell you everything. I think you are now somewhat familiar with what the stranger does. He comes to you when you are most desperate and gives you what you need and something bad for return.
I took a deep breath. I knew he had a reason for all this behavior. One with such a bad temper can't just stop himself from killing the ones threatening his family for no reason. He continued.
When I sent my family away before speaking with the hunters, I did it to save them. I knew they would kill me anyway, so I wanted to make them believe I was the last vampire. I met the stranger on the way. I can't tell you how I knew it was him, but I just did. He told me that he could help me. He could let me walk out of that slaughterhouse alive and go back to my family. There were conditions, however. I could never kill a hunter in my life, or all vampires will be doomed. Also, no one from my family could ever know of this. Back then, I thought it was simple and easy enough. That's what I used to tell the other vampires. But I could see more and more vampires turning rogue and giving in to their lust for blood. I had to stop them without an explanation. I lost both of my children. Both of them. Because of that damn oath.
I could see a tear making its way down his cheek. I put a hand on his shoulder and gave him a reassuring nod. I don't know how painful that must be for you, but I promise you, I will save your daughter. He smiled at me and got up.
We have to move. I need to show you the altar.
We walked outside, and on the way, he returned the courtesy of asking me questions.
My turn with the questions. Tell me, detective, what do you feel towards Judy now?
I don't know. If you were in my place, what would you feel?
I'm not in your place, am I? Besides, the question is about you, not me.
I don't know. I'm angry with her. I feel betrayed. I'm worried about her, and I miss her.
See? That's what I've been feeling ever since she left. What do you intend to do when we find her?
We have to find a safe place to go to first. Then, we shall see.